Over the past couple of months, you and I have driven the Kia EV6, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, the Toyota BZ4X, whatever they call it. But we have forgotten about an EV we drove a long time ago because it's been around a while. Well, guess what's changed? The one that's been around a while, the Kia Niro. Not exactly a Kia EV6, but there are things we need to discuss, including 2 other versions. Okay, so I lied. It's not exactly just an EV. In reality, there are 3 different models like there were in the previous generation. There's the EV, there's the hybrid, and there's the plug-in hybrid. Let's start here. A 1.6 4-cylinder engine. This works with a parallel hybrid system, and it does 53 mpg. Now, in terms of output on the system, it's 139 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. But wait, there's more, and that would be the plug-in hybrid. The basis of this one is still the same 1.6 4-cylinder. Output changes, 180 horsepower and the same 195 pound-feet of torque. Now, this one, being a plug-in hybrid, it does have a battery underneath the rear seat, a whopping 11.1 kilowatt hours, which give it, according to the manufacturer, the government hasn't tested it yet, 33 miles of range. Then there is the star of the show, and that would be the EV. I don't know actually what star of what show it would be, but this is the fanciest one because it has the most output. So this fully electric model, 201 horsepower with a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery. That, again, the manufacturer estimate, 253 miles of range. Then there's the architecture. Now, this is where we get into, I don't know if it's really bad news because you and I really don't know the pricing yet, but yes, this will be cheaper than an EV6, which means it's not 800 volt architecture, it is a 400 volt architecture. Now, why is that important? It changes the charge times. So where an EV6 can charge from 10 to 80% in literally 18 minutes, this does the same trick in 45 minutes. So I'm assuming this one will be significantly cheaper. Then there's the look of the vehicle. It still has the same overall general feel and theme as the Niro that came before it, because if I'm honest, it's not a totally new vehicle. It's a heavy refresh. Okay, then we move on to something a bit unexpected. A design cue from an Audi, an R8 at that, on a tall, sort of small baby buggy from Kia. That would be the blades back here. It's on the hybrid, it's on the plug-in, it's on the EV. Honestly, don't know if I like it or don't like it. We'll see if it grows on me. Then we got to move on to the platform. Now, technically, with all of those powertrains being a carryover, I'd say heavy refresh. But then the wheelbase, 107 inches, that tells us the Elantra. Now, granted, those we've driven in many different flavors at this point, but that is an all-new platform, so technically this rides on an all-new platform with carryover powertrains. Then there is a party trick they have on this thing, and here it doesn't really appeal to a non-practically human being like myself, but the kind of folks who are looking for practical. This is a bit unusual. All have some sort of electrification, right? So there's a green mode where it uses the navigation system to tell the car to switch to electric mode when the vehicle is near like a hospital, a park, or a school. I don't know. Is that exciting? But we have to talk about something else. Inside, not really a huge departure in design, considering what we've seen in the EV6, setting the design theme for Kias moving forward, namely a wraparound screen, a lot of buttons and a rotary controller on the console. But then there's that haptic feedback on the dash, which frankly I'm not a huge fan of because Kia, Hyundai, they've been so good at having buttons, really hard buttons, so you can actually focus on keeping your eye on the road rather than try to find what's going on in a haptic screen. Now, to mitigate that, there are knobs on either side of the haptic controller that have multiple functions. So depending on the application you're in, it could be volume, temperature, or navigation. Pressing onto the seats, something interesting here we've seen in other Kias, a very neat design trick, and that is incorporating a coat rack in the back of the headrest. It's a neat design touch that frankly doesn't cost anything, but is good innovation. And that brings us to the wish list. And here, being we haven't driven the car, really don't know the specs from the government in terms of range and EPA estimates, let's talk about money. Because you and I, in our Kia EV6 and Hyundai Ioniq 5 episodes, there we said those cars are $5,000 too expensive. This, it's trying to be a less expensive electrified solution. I get that. But can I make a suggestion? Can we make this like in the mid-20s, maybe the full EV in the low 30s, maybe high 20s, to put a huge delta between this and the EV6? This is just one man's opinion, and this is the point of the episode where I turn this around to you guys to opine in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV, all word, MotoManTV, all word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I once again want to bring in my frequent guest host and good friend, as well as cigar aficionado, Mr. Brian Max. So you are going to be shooting an episode on these as well.
That's right.
Is there an angle I'm missing? Because you heard everything I shot.
I don't think so. And, I called 2022 as kind of the year when we're going to see a ton of EVs. Yes, this is a 23 model year. And I'm kind of happy with where this is probably going to be priced. And for me as a city dweller, this is probably something I should look at driving.
Okay,
if I want to be responsible.
Okay, let's take a stab in the dark. What do you think, US dollars, what do you think this is going to be? Electric, not the other ones, the electric.
32.
Oh, we're not far off. I think it should be 28.
I agree with you there.
And not this with the before and after rebates or tax credits, because most people don't get those. You and I are going to talk about that in a separate episode.
Absolutely.
But I'm thinking 28, you're going for 32 US.
Yes, that's where I think it's going.
How much Canadian?
It's probably going to end up being 36 Canadian, 37 Canadian without rebates, and most provinces in Canada don't have rebates.
Oh, we should follow the Canadians only in that example. And with that, until we see you in the next episode, bis später.